I tell you, 33 hours. 33 hours that's not too shabby. I'll take that. 33 hours it took the FBI to hunt down 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. The alleged assassin in the case of Charlie Kirk. What's up? This is Mark K. Saves the Republic. Thank you so much for being here today. And happy Friday. It is Cha-Ching Chat Friday today, by the way, but it's still, it's interesting because it's still, we're moving on. We're moving on with our lives. I mean, we're still celebrating Charlie Kirk, of course, and we're still talking about all of the news, but we're not going to let anything stop us. We're not going to be AOC and cancel our commitments. We're still going to do what we need to do. We're still going to be here every single day, and we're going to be chit-chatting with you. And if you want a Cha-Ching Chat to show your support for everything we do, we're going to take that. We accept it. If you'd like to send a Cha-Ching Chat today for Cha-Ching Chat Friday, it's really easy to do. You can do it on YouTube by sending a super chat, they call it, or you can do it on Rumble by sending us a Rumble rant. Cancel either way. We will get it here, and we will Cha-Ching Chat. Depending on what we're talking about, or depending on what's going on, or if there's breaking news, we may collect the Cha-Ching Chat. We may turn off the Cha-Chinger, because typically we don't want the Cha-Ching Chat going off when we're talking about something very somber. Like that. I mean, it's great to see, and it's fun and all that kind of thing. And it is very helpful to the cause. But at the same time, we don't want to be disruptive. We do want to be respectful. And there's a lot still to talk about today. But if you'd like to send a Cha-Ching Chat, today's your day. And now the way the Cha-Chinger is a little different than anything else we do. The Cha-Ching Chats come along with your message, and it could be whatever message you want. And a lot of people, they will use the Cha-Ching Chat to promote their own business or their own views. If you have a special message you'd like to send out to somebody, birthday greetings, anniversary, maybe you just want to say something about Charlie, whatever it is, I will read verbatim, unless it's a wordy dirt, your Cha-Ching Chat if it's $5 or more. The or more being the key part of that whole phrase. So if you'd like to set off the Cha-Chinger, do that at any time during the show today. You can do that with your YouTube Super Chat or your Rumble rant, and we will, of course, be cognizant to get those all to you again in a respectful way today, because there is big news. It started with President Donald Trump on Fox and Friends breaking in, and then the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, who, man, this guy's great, isn't he? Spencer Cox calling a meeting with the FBI Director Kash Patel to announce, we got him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate.
Let's pause right there. This is very important. So Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, goes to dinner with his family, and one of his family members, in chatting, Tyler Robinson says, hey, guess what? Charlie Kirk is coming to UVU. And one of the family members, according to Governor Cox, starts talking to him about why they hate Charlie Kirk and why Charlie Kirk is vile and vicious and full of hate and spewing hate. And this family member has this conversation with Tyler Robinson, who has now been hauled into custody and is the alleged assassin assassin of Charlie Kirk. So look, if you don't think that the things that you say around the dinner table influence the people that you're eating with, if you don't think that your children or your cousins or your nieces or your nephews or whomever you're eating with, if you don't think they're influenced by you, if you are an authority figure or a family member, the things you say resonate with folks. And I don't know who this family member was who was talking smack about Charlie Kirk with Tyler Robinson, but I hope that they're feeling just totally horrible today, knowing that their words and their descriptions of Charlie Kirk may have led to his ultimate demise. Although I'm going to be honest with you, if I know anything about these kinds of people, they're probably not upset at all.
The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel.
Okay, so he's chit-chatting on Discord with one of his buddies. And by the way, Discord, man, that seems to be so aptly named, doesn't it? There's a lot of social media networks. I like Facebook. I never really understood what that meant. YouTube, it's kind of boring, but I get it. But man, Discord is probably the most perfectly named social media network, because there's a lot of people on there that have a lot of discord and disagreement with each other. But he's using this Discord server to chat with one of his friends who the FBI went and talked to. The authorities went and they talked to these people and they got screenshots, and he was saying, go to the woods, retrieve this weapon. You got to watch the woods for me, because something's going on in the wood. The woods were a big part of this, and the messages seem to relate back to where they found this weapon. He even said the weapon was you'll find the weapon wrapped in a towel.
The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 .30-6 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" ? Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! ! Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
All right, so the casings did have the inscriptions on them, as we were led to believe, as we heard earlier this week, and they were pretty. What I felt was pretty consistent. You've got one that says, "Hey fascist, catch" on a bullet casing. That seems to me that leads me to believe that he thought Charlie Kirk was a fascist, and the bullet was, the answer to ending Charlie Kirk's life. There was another one that said Bella Ciao, oh Bella Ciao, which is an Italian anti-fascist song that was sung during the Mussolini era, and it means goodbye, beautiful. Goodbye, beautiful. And that is a well-known Antifa anthem. So there you go. There's two Antifa messages. The one about the bulges with the OWO. OWO is one of those, like, you know, it's meant to look like the emoji of big eyes, like two eyes and a nose, like, whoa. It's like a wow kind of thing. And then if you can read this, you're gay. LMAO, they're going to decipher all of those. But it's pretty clear to me that was politically motivated, that he was led to believe, or he bought into the idea that Charlie Kirk, who was a Christian and a conservative and a proponent of the family and of the Bible, he was led to believe that Charlie Kirk, by his relatives and maybe his friends and God knows who else, they were led to believe that he was a fascist, that he was a Nazi, which is a very, very common thread that we hear. In fact, The View, do you remember The View? I had this somewhere. The View, years ago, back in 2023, I went to the TPUSA conference in Tampa, Florida. It was the SAS conference, and there were neo-Nazi protesters who showed up outside. And, you know, you can't do anything about people showing up outside. They show up outside. Well, The View, they had to issue an apology because they went on the air, Whoopi Goldberg and crew on The View, they went on the air and they said that there were Nazis at TPUSA. They said that there were Nazis at... Is this old or is this new? This is old. There were Nazis at the TPUSA SAS. And, oh, here it is. And they had to go on and issue an apology by the order of TPUSA attorneys because they were afraid of getting sued for misrepresenting TPUSA as this organization that allowed neo-Nazis in. And Charlie Kirk and his lawyers wrote to ABC and said, we will sue you for slander if you don't retract it. Listen to this. Here it is here. This is maybe where some people got the idea that Charlie Kirk and TPUSA was a fascist Nazi organization.
There were out there, neo-Nazis were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs and, you know, the Nazi swastika and a picture of a so-called Jewish person with exaggerated features, just like Goebbels did in the Hitler during the Third Reich.
There it is, comparing Charlie Kirk and TPUSA to Goebbels and Hitler and the Third Reich.
The same thing, right out of that same playbook. Okay, and DeSantis did not say anything about it. Nothing. So it's his sort of his rendition of good people on both sides. Same idea.
So you have to read this thing.
Okay, so now fast forward, the TPUSA lawyers and Charlie Kirk get wind of this and they go, Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the folks on The View are calling us Hitler. They're calling us Goebbels. They're calling us Nazis. They're calling us fascists. They're comparing us to the Third Reich. And we had absolutely nothing to do with it. We were putting on a nice Christian conservative conference, and these protesters showed up outside on the public street, as is their right to do. We still have the First Amendment. We still have the right to peaceably assemble. We still have the right to freedom of speech and freedom of religion, no matter how disgusting other people may find it. So The View gets a letter from the lawyers. ABC goes, you guys got to retract all this. And they gave the most half-hearted, horrible apology.
Oh, I've got a legal note. The conservative group...
Sonny normally does this, but...
I know.
Yes.
This is our knockoff lawyer.
Okay.
The conservative group, Turning Point USA, has condemned the group of neo-Nazis and said they have nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah, but where was DeSantis is what I want to know.
But you let them in.
Okay, Whoopi doubles down. This is how deranged these people are. Whoopi Goldberg doubles down on what's been going on. You have the Charlie Kirk lawyers, you have TPUSA contact ABC and say, retract that. These people had nothing to do with us. So they read the legal notice, and then Whoopi Goldberg goes, but you let them in, which is not true.
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Also, not true. So what happened then? Whoopi had to read another legal apology.
So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt. So they were not in the building.
They felt
but you know what?
Okay.
You know what? If the so-called Antifa, who are anti-fascist, that's what Antifa stands for, would go there and protest, then Antifa would get a bad reputation. That's why when I hear that Antifa is...
right, but that's not... But let me just make sure that everybody... Because, you know, misunderstanding what people say is very big.
It's not misunderstanding. It's misrepresenting. It's misinforming. It's flat out lying. What happened here is that Whoopi Goldberg and the folks on The View thought that Charlie Kirk was a Nazi. They thought that TPUSA was like the Third Reich. They compared him to Hitler. And when they saw that neo-Nazis showed up outside of the event, you know what they did? They went on and they reported that they were part of the event. Then when the lawyer said that's wrong, they still couldn't bring themselves to say, all right, maybe we were wrong, and Charlie Kirk is a fine, upstanding young man, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with what's happening over there at those TPUSA events. It's horrible what they do, but maybe that's one of the reasons why this guy, Tyler Robinson, maybe that's why maybe he hears these messages about how horrible Charlie Kirk is from folks on television. Maybe he hears these messages about how horrible TPUSA is and Republicans are. Maybe he sees the president of the United States say white supremacy is the greatest threat to our nation, not ISIS, white supremacy. Maybe he hears his relatives at dinner say Charlie Kirk spews hate. And maybe he then decides to take matters into his own hands and leave a political message in the process that fascism is bad and that he is anti-fascist. We have some clips from MSNBC, which we will play here. But first, we have gotten a couple of cha-ching chats. Jeff Tim sent a $5 cha-ching chat and said, please do not advertise the evil by name or image. Well, Jeff, I apologize. It's too late for that, but it is also news. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think that I know some people say, don't advertise, don't talk about the people, don't talk about these killers. There's going to be copycats. Look, we'll talk about that here in just a minute, because I believe that this incident it's very important that we know who these people are, because we need to figure out where they came from so that we can stop them. It's very important to know who these people are so that we can figure out where they come from and stop them. We need to know the cause. You know, the Democrats, they're always looking at the root cause. You know what caused all this crime? It wasn't the illegal immigrants. It was Donald Trump. It was this, that, and the other. You know what caused all this crime? It was Donald Trump keeping kids in cages and whatnot. They always want to go to the root cause. All right, let's go to the root cause. Let's go to the root cause. Is it our higher education? Our facilities, the colleges and universities that for a long time that Charlie Kirk knew were trying to brainwash our kids and produce an entire generation of left-leaning socialist lunatics? Is it the institutes of higher learning that were trying to indoctrinate our kids with the will of the left? In fact, Dinesh D'Souza posted a clip he found of Tyler. Look, he was a regular kid, got a scholarship to go to college, and then somewhere along the lines, maybe in college, maybe somewhere else, maybe just hanging out with his family, somewhere along the lines got radicalized.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait,
we got him.
That's not it. That's the thing again. Let me go back here. Let me find this clip. Here's the kid. Here's what Dinesh D'Souza posted.
Okay. Congratulations. You have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
That's your hitman. That's your assassin. That's your hitman in his living room reading a letter from Utah State University, not Utah Valley University. He didn't go there apparently. Utah State University, where he got a scholarship. The presidential, what was it called?
Congratulations. You have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University.
The Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. This kid, supposedly smart enough to get the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah University for $32,000 or 8 terms, whatever it was. This kid becomes a murderer. This kid becomes an assassin. This kid, who seems to have had a bright future ahead of him, somehow goes off to college and then at the age of 22 crawls on the roof of a university in broad daylight with a high-powered bolt-action rifle, stays there in wait, puts Charlie Kirk, a well-known Christian conservative commentator, who was there to debate and share ideas and welcome other opinions and enjoy political discourse and discussion, puts him right in the crosshairs of his scope, pulls the trigger, fires one bullet through his neck, killing him in front of 3,000 people live and millions around the globe. Orphans his 2 children, widows his wife. leaves an entire nation awestruck and mourning. The president of the United States visually upset by the loss of this man. How does one go from being a highly intelligent scholarship recipient to an assassin? That's the question we should be asking. That's why it's important to know who he is. That's why it's important to know where he came from. And that's why it's important to keep this in mind so we can keep it from happening again. MSNBC. I almost don't want to talk about it. MSNBC. Donald Trump, by the way, Donald Trump had some really harsh words. Donald Trump, of course, said, look, this kid needs the death penalty.
I hope he's going to be found guilty, I would imagine. And I hope he gets the death penalty. What he did, Charlie Kirk was the finest person. He didn't deserve this. He worked so hard and so well. Everybody liked him. I've been watching. Even the left is having a hard time. They fired this guy Dowd from MSDNC, who's a terrible guy, terrible human being. But they fired him. I hear they're firing other people. And, you know, we're talking about radical left. Now, they're a little bit, but radical left networks and cable channels, horrible channels like MS. I always go at DNC because it's, you know, somehow affiliated with the Democrat National Committee. So, you know, it's a little statement you make. But MSNBC, but NBC, ABC, CBS, they're all terrible, absolutely terrible and unfair. But even they have been giving it sort of like this can't be allowed to happen.
It's one of those Donald Trump backhanded compliments. He's like, you know, even the left-leaning news networks, they're all horrible. MSNBC's the worst. MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, they're all horrible. But even they have been pretty good about Charlie Kirk. Even they have been saying nice things about Charlie Kirk. But he goes, look, this kid needs the death penalty. And even those other networks are saying Charlie Kirk was not deserving of this, which is 100%. No one's ever deserving of that. I don't care who they are. Anyone, even on the left, are not deserving of that, even though so many on the left believe that Charlie Kirk was. MSNBC heard the same news conference we did, but they got a totally different idea of what was going on. They don't think that these shell casings that Governor Cox listed, Governor Cox went through the shell casings. He said, all right, on the first shell casing that we got, it said, look at those bulges with the wow eyes. Then the second shell casing said, hey, fascist, catch. Then there was one that said, ciao bella, ciao bella. Then there was another one that said, if you read this, you're gay, LMAO. And they can't figure out what all that means?
Joining us now is criminologist Casey Jordan. Casey, so much happening so quickly here this morning. We're learning as well from our own reporting that there's no indication of a prior criminal record. This is according to searches of state national public records associated with the person, Tyler Robinson, and his date of birth. One of the most striking details that we learned from this press conference were, again, about those bullet casings and the inscriptions, hey, fascist, the words Bella Ciao, the words if you read this, you are gay. What do you see as the significance or what the message is that he's trying to communicate here?
Really, I would need to actually see these words in the way that they are on the bullet casings in the gun to make a proper interpretation.
Oh, whoa. I'm sorry. What? You need to see the words and how they are on the bullet casing to make it a proper interpretation? Really? You need to actually see the words, hey, fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point, written on a bullet to really understand what that means? What kind of criminologist are you? What kind of, I mean, again, I know it's an MSNBC show, but come on. This is apologist behavior. This is them. Really, anyone else could be. I've been watching the news. I've been watching Newsmax, of course, because, well, I was just on there a few hours ago. I've been even monitoring Fox News because they got the breaking news story when Donald Trump went on Fox and Friends with our good buddy Brian Kilmeade. I've been flipping through the channels. I've been monitoring everybody. This is irresponsible once again. We know now what the motive is. We have a pretty solid idea. You don't scratch something on bullet casings before you pull the trigger unless you're trying to send a clear message. And if the message is, hey, fascist, catch, written on a bullet, I mean, look, it wasn't written on a Frisbee. It wasn't written on a baseball. It was written on a bullet that was fired out of a high-powered bolt-action rifle from 200 meters away into the neck of a well-known and very popular political commentator. You don't scratch anything on a bullet unless you're trying to send a message. I remember when the Democrats in Pennsylvania, the governor of Pennsylvania, the senator, and what's his name, Vladimir Zelensky. Do you remember when they went to the bomb factory and started scratching messages to Putin on the bombs? Do you remember that? We were so excited. Biden was going to send some bombs over to Ukraine so he could use them in Russia, and they were scratching messages on him first to Putin. There was a reason behind that, and there's a reason you scratch "Hey Fascist" catch on a bullet. And if you can't figure out what it is without seeing it, maybe criminology isn't for you.
But just knowing what those words are, I'm kind of overwhelmed with how immature it all sounds, and that there is no really chronic theme. I think Brandy really nailed it. You have to make of it what you want.
What? There's no chronic theme? What are they even talking about? There's no chronic theme? Hey Fascist catch. Bella Ciao, the national anthem for the Italian fascist movement in World War II. That seems to me like a common theme. If you read this, you are gay, LMAO. Look at those bulges. There's some interpretation for all of these, but there definitely seems to be a common theme. And really, the one undeniable truth is that this was a political message and that this guy believed that the target that he was targeting was a fascist. And we all know who he was targeting, Charlie Kirk. And why did he believe that Charlie Kirk was a fascist? Maybe because he was having a dinner conversation with some of his relatives who told him that Charlie Kirk was an evil person. Maybe it's because he watched The View in 2023 and they said that Charlie Kirk allowed neo-Nazis into his event in Tampa, wrongly so. Maybe it was because he went on Discord channels with Antifa members spewing hatred about conservatives and Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk. Maybe it's because he saw Donald Trump twice become the target of assassinations, twice become the target of political violence. And he saw people celebrating. Maybe that's why. But I'm no criminologist, so let's hear from the expert.
Because, it's like sees bulges. If you're reading this, you're gay. Catch this fascist, or hey fascist, catch. It's like the rantings of a really immature child. And we really need to learn a lot more about what was going on in this accused shooter's life when all of this was happening. Was he in a rabbit hole? Did he have no job? Did he have no purpose? How did he become such a consumer of hate? That his family reports he was talking with hate speech about his feelings about the victim just at the family dinner the night before. We get the impression he didn't live at home because they talk about the Discord messages with his roommate. But they also confirmed he is not a college student at the university where the crime happened. So I will be very interested to reconstruct what was going on in his life. Did he have a job? Did he go to school? Was he fired from a job? Did he apply to jobs and he was not, hired?
What? What is she talking about? I will be very interested to reconstruct what's going on in his life. Did he have a job? Did he get fired from a job? Was he applying for jobs but he didn't get a job? What does any of that have to do with what was written on the shell casings? What does any of that have to do with what was written in the Discord messages? What does any of that have to do with Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk didn't not hire this guy or not get this guy a job. Charlie Kirk's not the reason this guy was unemployable. And if he did or did not have a job, this is apologism. It's an apologist mentality. It's MSNBC trying to give, again, the criminal an out, trying to scapegoat the criminal. Well, no, I'm sorry. Trying to forgive the criminal while scapegoating the victim, as they are prone to always do.
Have just smoldering hate. Mostly my takeaway is that the writings on the gun and on the bullets really emulate everything we just saw a few weeks ago in the Minnesota Catholic school shooting.
Okay, well now, look at that. Finally, after 2 minutes of BS, finally after prattling on about God knows what for 2 minutes, it seems like maybe we're getting somewhere. In Minnesota, we saw the gun, we saw the messages, the anti-Christian, the anti-Republican, the anti-Trump messages written by the transgender shooter, Robin, what's her name, all over all over the gun, all over the magazines. We saw the journal with the crazed lunatic writings, just scrawling page after page after page. Now this MSNBC woman is trying to draw some comparisons, which may actually not be too far off.
So I don't think this has been a long-term plan. I think it probably was hatched when this alleged shooter heard that Charlie Kirk was coming to the area, his area, in his backyard at a university that he could easily access, pass as a college student there, go up on the roofs. I mean, I have to tell you, I teach at a university where I see students going up on the roofs all the time. So he had a lot of access to the venue, and he blended, and he knew he would blend. But I do think that this was something that just hatched when he found out that this man that he harbored hate for was coming to his area. And since we just had that school shooting in Minnesota, I think that is probably what inspired it.
It does sound like he was methodical.
All right, so basically there's not, at the end there, she made a little bit more sense. He saw the school shooting in Minnesota. He saw that maybe he could do something like that. And oh, look, there's a target-rich environment at the at Utah Valley University because Charlie Kirk, who my friends on Discord and who my relatives and who folks on television, like the ladies on The View, tell me is a Nazi. And I think Nazism's bad. I think fascism's bad. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to take care of this fascist once and for all. And I'm going to let everybody know that's the reason why I did it. And he went in and he blended in and yada, yada, yada. Now, the whole thing about the job is when she talks about the job and not having a job or not being able to get a job, she's blaming Donald Trump. That's an economic factor. She's trying to say, well, maybe the economy was so bad because of Donald Trump's policies. Maybe the tariffs made it impossible for him to find work. Maybe this, maybe that, yada, yada, yada. It's all that victim mentality. Everybody is a victim of Donald Trump's economic policies. Everybody's a victim of Donald Trump coming back to office. Donald Trump coming back to the office is the tipping point for all things bad. And really, if Donald Trump weren't president, the economy would be a lot better. This kid would have a job. And then all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, Charlie Kirk would still be alive because A, he'd have a job to go to, and B, he wouldn't be as miserable. And he wouldn't be blaming the fascists for everything wrong in his life. Fun fact, you should never blame anything on anybody else for what's wrong in your life. If you do, things like this happen. That was MSNBC's take. That's why Donald Trump said MSNBC is horrible. That's why Donald Trump said all these networks are just terrible. But the FBI is pretty good. And Kash Patel was out there and he was talking about the FBI and he was very excited that the FBI was able to bring this guy into custody. And he wanted to share his gratitude with the men and women of the FBI.
I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI.
And I think that was actually, pretty good for Kash Patel to do that. And I think it was actually good for Kash Patel to acknowledge that, yeah, we demanded justice and we demanded it quickly. And I think that he also, being as close as he was to Charlie Kirk, and Donald Trump being as close as he was to Charlie Kirk, and all of those other people in the administration being as close as they were to Charlie Kirk, I think he knew that most of us really wanted answers quickly. It would put our minds a little bit more at ease, knowing that the assassin, that the hitman, that the monster was behind bars and that he was going to face the ultimate justice. That's something that we all wanted, and Kash Patel delivered, and so did the FBI, and kudos to them. Donald Trump shared a very, very poignant and very, very personal moment when he was on Fox and Friends this morning. He talked about how he found out about Charlie Kirk's assassination. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. We do, however, have a lot of supportive people sending in their cha-ching chats. And I don't want to let it get too far. We want to thank Dean Himes. Dean Himes dropped us a $20 cha-ching chat. Dean, thank you for your generosity. He writes, everything you matters more now than ever. Please keep it coming and stay safe, my friend. Prayers and smiles. Dean Himes, thank you so much for all your long-term support of our show in whatever format it takes, and we definitely appreciate that. That is very, very kind of you. We got another cha-ching chat from Dad Life 20. Dad Life 2020, right? Oh, it is a $5 minimum to get red, right? Yes, it is. Go Birds. Talking about the Eagles, I guess. And what is that? Is that a middle finger? The Demons celebrating Charlie's death. I got the TPUSA arrow tattooed on my arm yesterday. Wow. I've seen a lot of people do that. I've seen a lot of people say, I got the TPUSA logo tattooed on me. I got the TPUSA this. I went and donated to TPUSA. There's a huge TPUSA event, and we should probably talk about this. There's a huge TPUSA event coming up in Phoenix around Christmas time, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go or not. I imagine they're still going to have it. And I imagine, I have no choice at this point. I think now we all have to do what we can to continue to support this this organization, to support Charlie Kirk's legacy, and to make sure that we all continue our freedom of speech. So probably I'll be making that trip there. Tulsa Peta sent us a cha-ching chat. Thank you, Tulsa Peta. Wrote, too bad the evil left sucked him into their lies. He looks like any other youth his age. You know, that's true. That happens, though. That happens. There's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, maybe they don't have that spiritual guidance. Maybe they don't have a strong figure at home. Maybe they don't have anything, maybe they fall in with the wrong crowd. And as you know, that's what happens with these organizations. They prey on the weak-minded, the soulless, the lonely, and they suck them in. And I don't know if that's what happened here, but something happened. We got another cha-ching chat from Renee G5 on Rumble, who writes, here's to one of the good guys. I don't know if you're talking about me, Renee, but wow. Either way, thank you so much, Renee. Thank you so much for that cha-ching chat. We really appreciate it. $20 is going to go a long way to support the show. And supporting the show, here's the thing. Like I said, we're going to go to the TPUSA thing in December for sure. That is something, though, that costs a lot of money because it's in Phoenix, and Florida's here and Phoenix is way over here. Like Tampa was great. I got in my car and I was there in 3 hours, but going to Phoenix is a little bit longer a jaunt. So if you want us to do the show live from that event, if you want us to be there for America Fest, and again, I have to check to see if it's even going on, but your cha-ching chats are really, really going to help with that. We did this thing once years ago. Back when I worked for the cheap, chintzy liberals that ran the radio station, who fired me for being way too conservative and way too entertaining and intelligent. We wanted to go to Cincinnati. Donald Trump was having a huge rally in Cincinnati, and it was right after a major event. I forget which one it was. Something happened I guess it was after North Carolina, or it was after what happened in Virginia. And we wanted to go to his event. We wanted to hang out with Donald Trump and meet all the people. It was going to be really important. And we went to, of course, our chintzy bosses, and they said, absolutely not are we paying for you to go to a Donald Trump rally. So we crowdsourced it, and we did it ourselves. Depending on how much we'd have to lay out for this America Fest broadcast, we may have to do that again, but we'll come up with something really good. Well, it was like a Kickstarter campaign that we came up with, and we were able to pay our own way to Cincinnati and back. So it was really awesome. It was really fantastic. Like I said, that's in December, but we're going to start making plans ASAP because there's a lot that has to happen between now and then to get it going. But just so you know, any way you can support this organization, know that it's not just Charlie Kirk. Know that it is hundreds of thousands of people, young people who came to these places, came to these conferences, came to these rallies, and they came there because they were drawn by a Christian conservative who was open to listening and discussing politics and the Bible with anybody. He loved God. He loved Jesus. He loved everything about those. He loved this country more than anything else. And and these events that he put on, they were really fantastic. And that is why he touched so many people, and he had so many friends, including the President of the United States, who said that, oh yeah, he's going to be attending Charlie Kirk's funeral for sure.
And next week you go to the UK
for
a state dinner, state visit. You and the First Lady will be there with the royal family.
And I also go to a funeral for a great gentleman named Charlie Kirk, who should not be having a funeral right now. He should be out there in front of people. He loved doing it. He was so good at it. And I mean, he had a big impact on the election. You know, I got so many young voters that no Republicans ever gotten anything close. I dominated with young people, and it's never happened before. And I give him so much credit.
Everybody gives Charlie Kirk so much credit for what Donald Trump was able to do with the young vote. Everybody gives him so much credit. Even Don Jr., who is Donald Trump's son, actually came up to his father and said, you know, Charlie Kirk was kind of like a son to you.
You know, Don said to me, he's sort of like a son to you. Charlie got involved like 11 years ago, I think. He started, you know, he's a brilliant guy, but he didn't go to college. He actually started in college. He was so bored that he left. He would have done very well in college if he wanted to, but he was brilliant. I always said, you know, can you get a degree because you're sort of used to having people like you went to college, right? Yeah. But he just didn't have the patience to do it. And he started this really during what would normally be college, maybe even sooner than that, but what would normally be college. And it's become a movement. And, you know, I won youth. A Republican never wins youth, but I won youth. I will tell you, TikTok helped me, but he helped me with TikTok. But he helped me with youth. I've never seen a person who's, in this case, older than the people we're talking about, you know, in many cases. I've never seen young people or any group go to one person like they did to Charlie. Mm-hmm. He'd go out to Arizona, to any school, to Utah, where he was, but any school, also East Coast, anybody. And he would have bigger rallies than any radical left speaker. And it was killing them because he'd have 5,000 people show up, 10,000 people show up. They'd go and they'd have 50 people, but they talk big league, right? Now, he was an unbelievable talent, but he was more, it wasn't really so much a talent. He just really believed it. He just believed it. He loved young people. He wanted to help young people. And he didn't deserve this. He was truly a good person.
Yeah, he was truly one of the best. Truly one of, and that's what I say about everything. Look, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat Republican influencers. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat conservative influencers. I am a conservative influencer. I am a Republican content creator. I am in the new alternative independent media wing of the conservative Republican Party. Have been for a very long time now. And I know that there are firebrands on the right. I know that there are people who are instigators on the right. I know that there are people out there who cuss and curse and spew hatred and tear people down and are divisive and want to separate the country. I know. I see them. I know them. I'm friends with some of them. Some people have actually accused me of being one of them. And yes, every now and then I make a Chris Christie is super fat joke, but let's be honest. Chris Christie is super fat. It's not even really a joke as much as it is just a statement of fact. Pardon me. But the fact of the matter is that Charlie Kirk did none of that. Charlie Kirk didn't drink, smoke, vape. Charlie Kirk lived a Christian lifestyle. He didn't work on Sundays. He didn't answer his phone on Sundays. Charlie Kirk never cussed. I never heard him cuss. I don't think anyone else ever heard him cuss. Charlie Kirk loved the Bible, loved this country, and he was not divisive. He invited people to debate. He liked talking to people who disagreed with him more than people who agreed with him. And that is rare on this side of the aisle. Most people in this movement, most of these influencers, they like to preach to the choir. I'll be honest with you. I'm more of a Charlie Kirker than I am someone else. For example, whenever there's a political, my wife hates this, by the way. Most people hate this about it. My mother does too. But whenever there's a political event, for example, the convention, whenever there's a political event like a Donald Trump rally, whenever I go to Washington, D.C., I will bypass the actual event if there's an opportunity to go and find the protesters. And if you search my YouTube, you'll see. I mean, I would spend hours and hours and hours, not at the Republican convention, not at the Donald Trump rally. I would spend hours on the street with the lunatics and the radicals and the socialists and the leftists, talking to them, trying to platform them, trying to figure out exactly what's going on through their sick, twisted minds, trying to discuss to them and see if they can figure out the error of their ways. That's where I really like to go. I like to hear why these people think the way they do. I like to put them out there so that everyone can see this is what's going on. This is what we're battling against. That's kind of what Charlie did. He didn't do it like he invited them. They would come to him. I have to go to them, but he would have them just come to them, to come to him. And, and Donald Trump said, look, these people, yeah, they're dangerous. They're crazy. But it's not just the lunatics at these conferences. It's not just the people that ambushed him at the restaurant. It's also the media, and it's also the elected officials.
The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy. Although they want men and women sports, they want transgender for everyone, they want open borders.
Yeah, and and that's why they're so vicious. What the left has done is they've painted themselves into a corner. They needed power, so they went out and they found all these lunatic fringe people, all these people that were, mentally deranged, all these folks that thought that they were cats, or that they thought men could have babies, or that were just denouncing their pronouns, or all these crazy things. That's who they built as their base. And now that most of the rest of the country is saying, that's ridiculous, that's weird, you guys are a little wackadoodle. Now that that's happening, what we're starting to see is the Democrats, they can't rely on their issues because their issues are crazy, just like their base. So now they're just resorting to violence. And we see it in Congress. We saw it in the White House with Joe Biden calling everybody garbage, saying we were white supremacists and we were even more dangerous to this country than ISIS. That's what we saw. Then you saw it in Congress with people like Al Green waving his cane angrily at the president during his speech, like what's her name, Jasmine Crockett, who, oh my God, has just said everyone should be punched in the face if they're a Republican. Elon Musk, Ted Cruz, the whole lot of them. LaMonica McIver, who pushed her way against ICE agents into a facility and demanded that she be allowed to see the criminal, illegal thug gang members, because she had a soft spot in her heart for them. She had a lot of soft spots, but again, I'm not gonna mention anybody's weight because I'm trying to be more Charlie Kirkish these days. But Donald Trump, he recounted something that was very personal, and it was when he was first told about Charlie Kirk being killed. And again, he was in the Situation Room at some point. We saw him on Truth Social, but he was going about his day. He had meetings. He was building the brand new ballroom, the ballroom that he and his donors were dedicating and donating to the White House, something that he's proud of, something he can put his mark on, something so that the White House can become just the pinnacle, once again, as it should be, of politics and entertainment for the politicians who come and visit us in the nation's capital, in the greatest city in the world, and now one of the safest, again, thanks to President Donald Trump. And that's where he was when he heard. When
I heard it, I was in the midst of, building for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom. They have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects and with design. It's going to be incredible. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, what do you mean dead? Charlie Kirk was shot. And they thought he was dead because it was so horrific, And I said, dead? And it was like, I just told these people, get out, just go, this is the worst thing. This was so bad for our country.
And that is true, that it was bad for our country. It's bad for our movement. It's bad for everything we do. What was good for our country, what was good for our movement was Charlie Kirk and the gospel and the messages that he tried to put forth to everybody. One of the most amazing things I always say about Charlie Kirk was, he was a great debater. He was intelligent. He knew the Bible inside and out. He knew the Constitution, and he was able to debate with anyone basically on site about pretty much any topic. And that's what happens when you know what you're talking about and you have common sense. It actually makes it fairly easy. But one of the other things that was really incredible about him was the events that he was able to put on. And he not only, I always say he had no ego. He wasn't selfish. He didn't just say, come to my event and listen to me speak for 2 days about anything I want to talk about. He brought in people who were more famous than he was, who were more powerful than he was, who were more successful than he was, and he gave them a platform. And these events were just incredible. And the kids that came, you wouldn't know that you were at a conference with 20-year-olds, the way they were dressed, the way they were acting, the way they would speak. They were all smiling and polite. And it's real. I mean, it was just a fantastic, happy atmosphere. And it will be again when you go to a TPUSA event. I'm sure not the next one. It'll be a little more somber. I believe it's coming up in December, America Fest, which is their biggest one out in Arizona. But the last one was in Tampa. It was the first time they were back in Tampa in a few years. It was called Student Action Summit. And I was able to be there with the host of the Lovely Light podcast, who also happens to be a huge Charlie Kirk fan and also happens to be my daughter. Her name is Annabelle Kay, and she is the host of the Lovely Light. Hi, Annabelle. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. Do you remember when we went to TPUSA?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It was like 2 months ago and it was so fun.
Yeah, it was. Did you ever think that 2 months later we'd be in the position we are now and Charlie Kirk would no longer be with us?
No, I still can't even believe it. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Where now you just got back from school, right? I was live. You got back from school and what happened?
I think it happened while I was driving home. So I didn't know until like I got into my house and my mom was there and she told me. So like it was like 30 minutes after that I found out.
And you were a big fan of Charlie Kirk too, right?
Yeah.
How did you find him originally? Was it on TikTok or something?
It was probably on TikTok. I mean, his videos are like everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I think I just saw his videos. Usually the ones that catch my attention the most are like the pro-life ones. So it's probably one of those. And ever since I've just been following him. And then, like I said, you went to the TPUSA event, and that was so cool to see as well. So I've been following him for a while. Yeah, it really is. And we were able to go backstage to they had like they called it an influencers dinner. Influencer
what was
party.
It? The influencer party. We got to go there, and that's great too because you meet all the other people that do basically what we do every single day. So it was really kind of cool. And I was glad that you were able to experience that before Charlie Kirk was killed. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about your generation and conservatism and especially I think the reverence, because the Christianity, it's really great to see young people who are so involved in their faith and so willing to talk openly about their faith.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's why I started my podcast, because I really wanted to show like people my age, like teenagers, middle schoolers, like the faith that can be a really good thing. But sometimes like these kids, they might not have an outlet because their church doesn't have a youth group, or maybe they don't even go to church. So it's just like, I feel like social media, like since this is the age of like technology, the age of social media, a lot of people have been able to reach this through like podcasts, like my podcast, or just Instagram, or just social media in general. Yeah.
Who are some of the other people? Because I know like Charlie Kirk you follow, and I know we were talking about Cardone. You follow. What's her name?
I follow Scarlett
Cardone.
Daughter. She's really cool.
This is so funny. This reminds me. So I follow Grant Cardone, who's my age, and you follow his daughter, who's I guess your age.
Yeah,
maybe a little younger.
She doesn't do political videos, but she does like business videos.
Yeah.
She did like a sales for like a sales thing.
A sales call.
Yeah.
I saw that
and
one.
it was really good. And I think she might be even younger than me. And she's really cool.
Well, Grant Cardone, for those of you that don't know, he's a business guy. He's successful. He's a real estate guy. And he now has his teenage daughter doing sales calls. And she's getting a following. But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. TikTok is not just booty shaking videos and prank videos and stupid stuff like that. There's actual good content. There's Christian content and business content, and also positive political content as well. Who else are you, besides Charlie Kirk, who are some of the influences you get on? I should probably know.
I mean, a lot. Like one of the ones that I think I found earlier on that I really love is Brett Cooper.
Yeah.
And then Riley Gaines.
Yeah.
And then I've seen a little bit of like Michael J. Knowles and all of them. Like a lot of the Daily Wire people as well. So just like I think I found Charlie and Brett first, and then like they all have like people connected to them, and especially like the TPUSA event. Like I learned about new people, so now I follow them, and it's just like it's a really big platform. There's a lot of people with it.
Watch your likes, because Mom was going to say something about that. That's okay. No, you're doing great.
I didn't even notice.
I know. And they were all there. Riley Gaines and Brett Cooper. Everybody was there at the event.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of blends all in together, which is really kind of exciting. Do you have a lot of your friends that have been affected by Charlie Kirk? Did it come up at school? Did anyone text you? Are there other folks that are like as affected by this?
I mean, at my school, I don't have a lot of conservative friends at my school. I mean, there's a couple that I talk to, but I mean, I have friends from my church that we talked about it, and it's just everyone's feeling affected of it just because he was such an influential person.
Yeah.
Especially for the conservative movement, and also for just the Christian music movement, because like he said, everything he did, like obviously it was very Republican, very conservative, but he always wanted to put God first, and he would pray before all of his events. So like, he's just such a great servant of Christ. So I feel like a lot of people are feeling the effect of it.
One of the really interesting things, and we were just talking about this yesterday, was how he really also brought back this idea of the family. And with women, you know, because back when I was a teenager, it was all about women going out and competing in the business place, women this and that. And it was almost not cool to be a mom and be a wife and that kind of thing. But I feel like with Charlie Kirk and a lot of these other influencers, there's this backlash against that feminist idea that women should just be alone and do their own thing, where being with a part of a family unit is actually something that's better for everybody. Is that something that you see as well from their that kind of content?
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of these people, especially since they're younger, I mean, a lot of these people at the events, they're like in their 20s and they're already having families. They're getting married, obviously, first, and they're having families, and they're just really showing that it's okay to have a traditional family. It's good to have a traditional family, and kids are such a blessing, and just all these things that a lot of like the left leaning, all the super ultra feminist movements are saying, that women shouldn't get married. They should just work and be single for their whole lives. But really finding that fulfillment in a family is so important. And I feel like that has been increasing lately because of all the TPUSA things.
I have a lot of fun at work, and I've always been in a job where I have like a lot of fun at work and I hang out with a lot of fun people, but I have the most fun when I'm with my family.
You should.
I do. Well,
you have a pretty cool family.
I do, and they're all so fun. You're all so fun. But I think that's something that has been kind of, like you said, especially with women, has been kind of pushed aside or even demonized. Is that idea? But when you look at even the Bible, like the Bible push everyone in the family has their role and they have their responsibilities, and everyone's important.
Absolutely. And I do want to mention that one of the last like videos Charlie Kirk put out, it was about the Virgin Mary. And even though he's not Catholic, his wife's Catholic, so he has a lot of respect for Catholicism. And he was talking about how he believes that people, including Protestants, should venerate Mary more like the Catholic Church does. And like this idea that Mary can be a role model for young women because she's like the perfect woman, because she's sinless and she's humble and she dresses modestly and she's just that perfect example. So I love that was like a video that he put out, and hopefully more people can see it now and really be inspired by those faith values and a good inspirational woman that Mary is.
I think a lot of people are going to be looking at they already are looking at his videos, and they're trying to figure out, they're getting inspired by him. And I think, you're going to see a lot more conservative and Christian content creators because of what Charlie Kirk brought before he was killed. Speaking of Christian conservative content, you have a podcast called The Lovely Light.
Yes, I do. The Lovely Light podcast. Yes.
The Lovely Light podcast. Tell me about your I mean, I know about your podcast because I helped you record it, but tell everyone else about your podcast. Yeah, of course.
So the Lovely Light podcast is a 30-day devotional. So basically we have 35 to 8-minute videos or podcast videos. And basically me and my best friend, Catherine, we go on there and we intro it, and then we read a Bible verse. And that Bible verse will relate it to our lives, whether it's schoolwork, our friendships, just anything in our lives that really a young Christian girl can relate to, and then we end in prayer. So it's basically the part of it is to make other Christian girls in middle school or high school really feel like they have someone they can relate to.
So is it for Catholic girls, or is it just for any girls?
It's for anyone, really. I mean, all of our content is straight from the Bible. It's related to the Bible. So that's like our main target is Christian girls. But there's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of hopefulness. So really anyone can listen to it. That's
fantastic. And if I wanted to listen to it, or since I'm not a Christian teen girl, let's say I knew a Christian teen girl, and I wanted to share it with her, how would she find it?
So she could find it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just search up The Lovely Light Podcast.
The Lovely Light Podcast with Annabelle and Catherine. And it's 30 days. Let me just go through it. It's 30 days. It starts with day 30, but that's just the Spotify.
That's just Spotify.
Do I have to listen in order, or can I listen to anyone that trips my trigger?
So what's so great about them being so short is you could watch multiple at a time. You don't have to do it in 30 days. It's just there if you want it to be like that. But you can go out of order. If you see a title and you're like, oh, that's cool, then you can literally listen to them whenever you want and however you want.
Yeah, there's one here called, I'm just looking at it. These are great. So there's one here called The Golden Rule. God is our protector, witness of faith, thirst for God. That's a good one. Leading in love, women in the word. We were just talking about that a little bit. Yeah. Respect life, seeing God in the school year, daily Thanksgiving. These are amazing. And I know they're amazing because, like I said, I helped record them. So the Lovely Light Podcast, you're on iTunes as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So anyone can go anywhere and download. Annabelle, thank you so much for your insight. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
We're going to have to go to another TPUSA event together.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the one in Phoenix. I'm actually going to need some help That's the thing. She produced my last event too. So maybe we'll be going to Phoenix for Christmas. The Lovely Light podcast. You can get it wherever you download your podcasts. And speaking of podcasts, we have an event that we do every week that, I'm going to be honest with you, just gets better every single week. And I'm not bragging. It's not because of me. It's because of the people who attend. But there's so much talk now of, speaking your mind, of knowing that it's important to speak your mind and knowing your faith and talking to people. And one of the best ways I've found to do that is with my 2 daily podcasts. And as you can see, it runs in the family. My daughter also has a podcast with her friend. And a lot of people are realizing that they have some stuff to say and they have some stuff that they want to talk about. And they maybe don't necessarily know the best way to do it. No problem. I'm happy to help. And on Tuesday, September the 16th, I'll be doing another Podcast Profits live event. Now, this is where we teach you how to launch a podcast, a money-making podcast, because, let's be honest, we're capitalists. We're all capitalists. We're here in the United States of America. We want to talk about our passions, but we also want to be able to pay for stuff. So we'll teach you how to launch a money-making podcast in just 1 hour. You don't need any tech. You don't need a studio. You don't need a huge online following. And this event is free. I know what you're thinking. Mark K., you're a capitalist, not a socialist. I know. But this event is free, so come join us. You do need to register. If you click the green button right here that says Save My Spot on the website, we'll get some information so we can save your spot, and we'll be with you next week, which is Tuesday, September 16th, 8:30 p.m. There's a VIP as well beforehand at 7:30. So if you want the VIP, we'll give you information on how to get into the VIP, which is a lot of fun because that's one-on-one where we actually talk directly and I answer your questions directly. But like I said, that's next Tuesday. Go to podcastprofitspro.com, podcastprofitspro.com if you would like to join us for that event. Should be very, 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 very exciting. Now, there is, fun fact, other news, which sometimes we forget about. And Donald Trump, this has really kind of taken over our week. Charlie Kirk was shot on Wednesday. Seems like it's been forever ago, but it was Wednesday. On Thursday, it was 9/11. It was the 24th anniversary of the attacks on New York and the Pentagon and Washington, D.C. and the plane that went down United 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So we had a lot to handle this week, a lot of really heavy emotional stories. And you can even see the president, it took a toll on him. Kash Patel, it took a toll on him. The media, a lot of us in the media, we've been going nonstop. I don't think I've posted this much on social media probably ever. We've done emergency live streams. We've done extra podcasts. We've been trying to get you the information on TikTok and Facebook and wherever you go to get your information, we're trying to be there for you so that you can get it from a truthful, trustworthy, reliable source like us. But I will say this, there's other stuff going on, and Donald Trump and the White House, they've still got to run the country. And, we talk about DC all the time and how DC is now one of the safest cities in the country, how Donald Trump federalized the police force, how he brought in the National Guard, how he said, enough is enough. We're not going to do this anymore. What we're going to do in DC is we're going to make sure that we have safe streets, no carjackings, no homeless populations, no homeless encampments. We're going to make sure that everybody in this city and in this district feels comfortable going out to the restaurants. And Donald Trump himself illustrated how safe DC is by going out to a restaurant just the other day with Marco Rubio and Sec War Hegseth. I just like saying Sec War. I think that's kind of cool. It used to be Sec Def, now it's Sec War. If it were Secretary of Offense, that'd be cool too, because then it'd be like Sec Off, which would be great. And I digress. But Donald Trump teased the other day. He said, "Look, we have another city we're going to go into. There's another city with high crime. There's another city with drugs. There's another city with homelessness. There's another city with big problems, big issues. There's another city run by Democrats, as they all are. Another city that is run by Democrats that has reached out to us and begged us for help. And the mayor's on board and the governor's on board. And Donald Trump announced that city today on Fox and Friends. And as soon as I turn up the volume, you'll be able to hear what he says.
We're going to Memphis. Memphis that's the next city. Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. I would have preferred going to Chicago.
Yeah, he would have preferred going to Chicago, but they're getting a lot of pushback in Chicago, so he's going to Memphis. He's going to Memphis because they asked for his help. He's going to Memphis because Memphis realizes they have a problem. And Donald Trump is solution-oriented. Donald Trump's like, look, we have problems in this country. I'm a problem solver. We have problems in this country. I have a team that's ready, willing, and able to fix it, and I want to fix it, and that's my job, is to fix it as the president, because he loves this country and he loves her citizens. And he said, we got to protect him from the Democrats.
Look, almost every city that's in trouble is run by Democrats. Cashless bail is a disaster. When they came out with that, and I think it started in New York, I have to tell you, but when they came out with, so somebody kills somebody and the judge says, all right, come back to trial in 10 years and, go out, and then he goes out and kills somebody else. Cashless bail has to be ended immediately. Sanctuary cities are a disaster, but it's a Democrat. There are a couple of bad Republicans places, and we'll fix them up. By the way, the Republicans want me to come in there so badly.
Yeah, the Republicans. Yeah, he's talking about Louisiana. The Republicans, if there's a Republican area that's run badly, Donald Trump, you bet your bottom dollar is going to go out there and fix it. Donald Trump has fixed the border. Donald Trump has fixed the military. Donald Trump has fixed the economy. Donald Trump has done a miraculous job with pretty much everything that he was handed. The only thing he hasn't been able to fix, of course, again, is the interest rate, because Donald Trump realizes that even though they call him a dictator and they say that he's forcing his will upon everybody, he knows that Jerome Powell and the Fed still control that. And that's why he continues to urge Jerome Powell in Donald Trump's own special way to lower the interest rate. And he did it again on Fox and Friends.
I call him Too Late. His nickname is Too Late. Okay, Jerome Powell. Jerome Too Late Powell. Too late on the interest rate. It's always late, except when it came to a Democrat, because before the election, he dropped the interest rates to try and help Kamala Harris, I guess. I assume that's why, because he shouldn't have dropped the interest rates then. He should have dropped. But he's a year late. And despite that, we have the best economy we've ever had. We have the best stock market we've ever had. In other words, what we've created is so strong. We have $17 trillion going to be invested in this country. Think of it. They didn't have, they had nothing. They had people leaving our country. We have the greatest boon in the history, and that's why the stock market went up 700 points yesterday.
Inflation is down.
Inflation's down. Well, I have low inflation. Yeah. He had the highest inflation in history.
Yeah, Joe Biden had the highest inflation in history. They refused to lower the interest rate until just before the election, but by then it was too late, as Donald Trump says. Too late, Jerome Powell. And now Donald Trump, even without Jerome Powell's help, even without the Fed lowering the interest rate, you still see the stock market is booming, up 700 points. He's saying that inflation is down. If wherever your money happens to be, if your money's in the stock market, you're loving Donald Trump right now. If your money's in Bitcoin or Dogecoin, both are surging. Crypto, you're loving Donald Trump right now. If you're investing in the housing market or real estate, Donald Trump's got your back because he's a real estate investor, but you know that that interest rate could be a lot lower. And if that interest rate were a lot lower, your real estate investments, they'd be surging like the stock market, like Bitcoin and like crypto. But of course, no matter how good all of those investments are, there's still always one safe haven investment that has always done better than the rest, has always been more stable for your money. And Donald Trump has, in the last 6 months, seen that get higher than any of them, 25%. I, of course, am talking about gold, the kind of gold that you can get from Augusta Precious Metals. Gold, that's the saving secret. And Donald Trump, when everything else goes up, the stock market goes up, Bitcoin goes up, crypto goes up, when real estate finally goes up, you're going to see gold surge yet even farther, because that's the safe haven investment. That's where everyone takes their profits and they put it in there. They get these gold IRAs. They get these precious metal savings accounts. They go to Augusta Gold and Augusta Precious Metals, and they invest. If you're interested, there's a free gold guide, by the way, which is really good. The Gold IRA Ultimate Guide to 2025 investing, and you can get it for free by going to getmarksgold.com. Getmarksgold.com. Just request your free guide. It's from Augusta, by the way. They're not fly by the seat of your pants. They only accept deposits of $100,000 or more. So if you're looking at let's say you're looking at your 401k or your bank account or your savings, whatever, and it's sitting at $100,000, and you go, you know what? I'd like it to be even more. Well, gold is up 25%. So maybe now's the time to go to getmarksgold.com and investigate a gold and precious metals IRA from Augusta Precious Metals, getmarksgold.com. But Donald Trump is working to make everything better. He wants the economy to flourish. He wants all the cities to be safe, red and blue cities. And Memphis has raised their hand and said, yes, please, President Donald Trump. Yes, please come and help us. Help us because we need it. Oh, look at that. Speaking of help, look at this. We're getting a bunch of cha-ching chats. This is Faith B904 who wrote, Mark, I saw you on Newsmax this morning. You were spot on as usual. Well done. Faith B904, I really appreciate it. Yeah, we've been very blessed with our relationship with Newsmax. They've had me on, I want to say like every day for the past couple of days. I hate the reason why we have to be on. Oh, let me tell you, by the way, I'm kind of all over the place today, I know, but this is how it works. That's how my brain works. We had last night a candlelight vigil at the beach. It was at the in Neptune Beach. The GOP here in Florida put it together, and the Young Republicans of Duval County also put it together. And I want to show you some of the photos because it was really, truly incredible. And I got to go to, they're on Facebook. I didn't have a chance to pull them off, but this whole thing, this is what Charlie Kirk meant to so many people. There were so many folks there. There were on short notice, within like 10 hours, we posted it. And you know, the cool thing was a lot of people came up to me there and said, thank you for posting it because that's how I found out about it. And I said, that's awesome. That's literally the least I could do. I mean, posting something, it's literally the least I could do because it just takes me, it's like 2 clicks of a mouse and that's it. But there was some of the photos we got, the crowd was just incredible. The crowd was really amazing. And I want to share with you some of these photos of what went down. So here we go. This was just last night. Here's all the people. And this guy kept calling Charlie Kirk Charlie Crist, which in Florida, I understand. I get it because Charlie Crist was such a huge part of this. Thank God, not anymore. But he gave a very, very heartfelt, all these folks that were there in charge of this gave very heartfelt remembrances of Charlie Kirk. There were a lot of kids there. A lot of people brought their pets, as you can see. All ages, people of all ages, old and young. They had this great look in memory of Charlie Kirk, 1993 to 2025. They had this great memorial set up there. Again, in less than 24 hours, they made this happen. I want to mention the police presence, though, because that was one of the big concerns was we're going to go do a candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk. We're going to put up a stage. We're going to stand there. We're going to talk about the same things Charlie Kirk talked about. We're going to have a bunch of conservatives in one area, and we're going to publicize that, hey, there's a bunch of Christian conservatives getting together in this one area at Neptune Beach. Is that a security threat? Well, probably. Maybe not so much in Florida, but the security there, the police were incredible. The Neptune Beach Police Department, man, there was more security there than I think maybe there was at the Charlie Kirk event. We had just police everywhere. The presence was, I mean, it was palpable and you felt so safe remembering Charlie Kirk. And then, of course, it was just a beautiful night. Look at the sky. I mean, the sky, the clouds, everything was just, it was just perfect. People were lighting candles. I brought a bunch of candles too. They said, do you need me to bring anything? They're like, yeah, candles. They said, we have 400 candles. We think there's going to be like 1,000 people there. I mean, it's incredible. This was just last night. And Charlie Kirk was murdered on Wednesday at noon. This was 30 hours later, all of these people together in one place. There's our state senator, Clay Yarborough's talking. Look at the sky. It was just it was kind of like God was looking down. And again, thank you to the Young Republicans for putting this together and the Republican Party of Duval for getting this together. It was just, these photos are really, I mean, they really tell a great story. These are people, all walks of life, all kinds of people who love Jesus, who love God, who love conservatism, who love the president, who love America, who loved Charlie Kirk and wanted to be there for him. And we all just got together and we prayed. And one of the things we prayed for was, please, please help the FBI, help the authorities, help them find and bring Charlie Kirk's killer to justice. And wouldn't you know it? The very next morning, that's exactly what happened. And I know that these things were happening all over the country. It wasn't just here. In fact, on the way home, I was in my car leaving a memorial service for Charlie Kirk, a candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk in Neptune Beach. And I got an email from a group saying, hey, Mark, would you please come out on Sunday night to our candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk in St. Augustine? And I said, absolutely, I will. So there's a lot of these things. They're going to continue on and on and on. Charlie Kirk's memory. Charlie Kirk is not dead. He's more alive now than he ever has been. In fact, my daughter, who we just interviewed, she posted something on her TikTok. It was a great quote. It said, you can't kill a Christian. You can just change their address, which is true. If you have a soul like Charlie's, you never die. You are there forever. Look at this. just a really incredible, just a really, really great event. And so many patriots, so many people who loved Charlie Kirk coming together to light candles, to pray. I mean, look at that. And a beautiful, just another beautiful night here in Florida, in Jacksonville. Anyway, I was glad to be a part of it. And again, my whole point of this was I hate the reason that it happens. And this all came from a cha-ching chat, by the way, this whole monologue. I hate the reason why we have to do these things. I hate the reason why Newsmax is calling me and saying, can you come again tomorrow? Can you be on again tomorrow? I hate the reason why, but I'm glad that at least I'm there to do my little part, which is to verbally fight back, to keep Charlie Kirk's memory alive, to push Christianity and conservatism wherever it needs to be, and to help you get through whatever it is you're feeling, because I know a lot of people are feeling a whole bunch of stuff. Tons of cha-ching chats coming in, by the way. You guys are so generous. I love it. Gene Hinders wrote, Mark, thank you for all that you do. I think that you're the most entertaining and informative political voice since we lost Rush. That's high praise again. That is undeserving praise, but I do definitely appreciate that. That is so nice to hear, and thank you. And, I'll tell you, here's the thing. The reason why I do what I do is because you guys are here. I'm not crazy. I'm not going to sit in a room and yell and scream about this kind of stuff to myself. I mean, maybe when I'm older, maybe that's what's in store for me in like 20 years or so. But no, because we've got 2,000 people watching live, maybe even more. We've got, by the end of and the interesting thing about this, it's so different than when I worked on the horrible liberal radio station that fired me for being way too conservative, way too entertaining, and way too intelligent. That's the problem too. Being the most entertaining and intelligent person in a radio company and a media company is really a lot. It's a lot because everyone's gunning for you. They don't like you, number one, because they're not you. And they look, and every time they turn around, they don't realize how helpful you are being to the rest of the organization. They're just jealous or whatever. So they fired me. But what was my point about all this? Oh yeah. But I will say this, it's different than being on the radio, because not only do we get to do this live in front of a live audience, and like I said, thousands of people watching right now, it also lives on forever. And I can come back tomorrow, and this broadcast, which had 2,000 live viewers or 3,000 live viewers, will have 10,000 viewers or 20, or I can post a piece of this broadcast on Facebook, and in a couple of hours, 500,000 people will have seen it. This is exactly right. When Donald Trump said Charlie Kirk helped me, he helped me get the youth vote. He introduced me to TikTok. He introduced me to all these wonderful things that helped me get my message out there in 2024. That's exactly right. And now we're using all of these to continue getting the message out there. And we do appreciate. But again, I couldn't do this, and I wouldn't do this without you, because I'd just be a crazy old bald guy sitting in my room screaming and yelling about politics, which I don't necessarily. I'm not ready to be that. Lady Vet sent a $10 cha-ching chat. And she wrote, actions equal consequences, words equal consequences. The sooner this is learned and enforced, the better. Lady Vet, I believe you're talking about the people who were chit-chatting with the killer at his dinner table or on Discord or whomever. But yes, if you have negative talk and a young, impressionable person, guess what's going to happen? That is going to be something that pops back up, and anything you say to your kids. And that's why they always say you should tell your kids you love them. You should take them to church. They're going to soak up what you give them. And if you sit around and talk about how horrible Charlie Kirk is, and how terrible Charlie Kirk is, and what a Nazi fascist Charlie Kirk is, guess what? They're going to believe it. But if you sit around and say, Jesus died so you can live. Jesus wants you to love one another. Jesus said, treat others as you would have them treat you. Do unto others as you would have them do to you, I guess is the actual verb. You know the thing. If you teach them about the United States of America, if you teach them about the Constitution and say, everybody has freedom of speech, and you may not like what they say, but you best believe that they have the right to say it, and that's something you need to respect. Everybody has the right to. Somebody came up to me yesterday. They said, you're running for Congress. And I said, I am running for Congress. And they said, I have a question for you, and I'm wondering if you'll even answer it. And I said, what's the question? And they said, what do you think of Nick Fuentes? And I go, What do you mean? Like his discourse? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And they go like, yeah, what do you think about Nick Fuentes and the things he says? And I said, I'll be honest with you. I'm not 100% up on everything Nick Fuentes says, because that guy talks a lot, and so do I. And I'm usually too busy talking to listen to other commentators. But I will say this. The one thing I know of is that Nick Fuentes has the freedom to say whatever he wants. And because of freedom of the press, he can say whatever he wants in his medium of choice. And I'm not going to say anything against that. Do I agree with some of the things he said about Hitler? No. But I do agree that he has the right to say those things. And because if he didn't, I wouldn't. Not those things, but other things. You have to respect somebody else's freedom of speech. You have to let them speak, but you cannot ever violently end their life because you don't like what they're saying. And that is something that I truly believe. Like I said, my whole campaign, people ask me, what's your platform? And I go, oh, let me hand you a copy of the Constitution. That's my platform. Go back to the cha-ching. They're coming in fast and furious. We may be here for another hour just reading cha-ching chats. Ernest Hatfield. Ernest, thank you again for... Man, Ernest, this is like, you're like a 3-time cha-ching chatter. I think for 3 weeks in a row, we've had Ernest Hatfield drop us a cha-ching chat. $10. Thank you very much. Sending prayers to Charlie Kirk's family and friends. To quote Dylan Thomas's rage against the dying of the light. One light has been put out. Time to rage against the dying of the light. That's a good quote. And that is, that's something I hadn't thought of before. But Ernest, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for the prayers for Charlie and his family. And thank you again for being such a staunch supporter of the show so we can keep... Hold your horses. I wasn't done talking to Ernest. Thank you so much for being a staunch supporter of the show so we can continue to do this show every single day. All right, now I'm ready. Now bring me the next one. Here we go. Shippoke. Yikes. Shippoke. Is that right? Shippoke. Shypoke. I don't know. Thank you for your service. $5 cha-ching chat, Mark. Thank you for being a voice in the wilderness right now. Respect Revelation 6:10 forever. Thank you so much, Shypoke. Revelations 6:10. I'm not one of those people that have, here we go. How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? Thank you very much. I'm not one of those who has memorized the Bible chapter and verse. I know some chapters. I know some quotes, but I'm not one of those. Like there are people, Charlie Kirk was one of them. I meet a lot of them. There was a preacher yesterday at the Candlelight Vigil who was able to do it. I know a lot of the Bible. I know the stories. I know the lessons. I know what it says about this, that, and the other. One of my favorite books, by the way, the Book of Kings, is the story of Solomon, which I think is the most important because he asked God for wisdom and God gave it to him because God realized because wisdom is the most important thing. So I know, but there are people that know it chapter and verse. And I appreciate you sharing that chapter. And just know, if you share a chapter and verse with the Bible with me, probs, I'm going to have to Google it real quick. There we go. Christiane Haggerty, $4.99 super chat for Annabelle. That's so sweet. It's 2 N's, by the way. Annabelle, that's so sweet. I guess I'll give her $4.99. I feel like I give her enough. I'm going to give her $5 and I'm going to say, this is for your interview today. You got a super chat. So, well, I think I owe her $5 anyway. You know what the thing is? I never have cash anymore, but my kids do. So whenever I need cash to like tip the valet or something, I always have to go to my kids and go, hey, do you have any cash? And they're like, Daddy. And I go, I'm good for it. I'm like, oh, I'm good for it. But I think I have some, I'll give. Thank you very much, Christiane Haggerty. That is very, very, very generous. We're getting some more on Rumble, it looks like. Here we go. We're getting some more on Rumble. We got, oh, look at this. U.S. Abby Girl. Hold on, where am I? Can you post your Newsmax interviews on MKSTR? Mark K. Save the Republic. I can, and I usually do. Here's what happened this morning, though. It's crazy. I woke up early, like I always do, 5 o'clock, got ready. I came out here, made my daughter's lunch. She drove away. I said goodbye, came in here, made coffee, hung out with my wife, got it ready for news. I had to do, if we're on the air at 7, which is when we were on the air, I had to be in here at 6, setting up the lights and the phones and the microphones. I had to make sure I knew what I was talking about. I had to go through because the news changes so fast. Yesterday at like 11, they go, here's what we're talking about tomorrow regarding Charlie Kirk. But overnight, I didn't know if they caught the guy. I didn't know if they had any more information. I didn't know what was going on. So I had to do a good 30, 40 minutes worth of research, which I was able to do. And then boom, got on the air. And as soon as I was done, I was about ready to post it on Mark K Saves the Republic. But you know what happened? They caught the guy. Donald Trump, literally, my podcast was late this morning, the 47 Daily, which if you don't listen to the 47daily.com, I don't know what you're doing. But the 47daily.com, I usually post, I try to get it out by 8:30. And at 8:15, Donald Trump's on Fox and Friends saying we caught the guy, scrapped everything, had to recut the podcast and get it out. And then we had to be here and there. And then I turn around and it's like 11 o'clock and boom, we got to get ready for this show. So like I said, it's a lot. It was a lot today. So we didn't actually get Mark K Saves the Republic, or we didn't get the Newsmax clip up, but usually I do try to share those because I do enjoy them. And we always have great conversations with Mark and Charla and whoever else we are on with. Once we get bigger, we're going to get some more help. And I'm just going to have people, I'm going to have somebody and I'm just going to look, here's what's going to happen. We're going to get off the air. I'm going to go post and they're going to be like, okay. And they're going to be able to get it up and I can go do the next thing. That's my goal. That's one of my goals in life. Speaking of which, speaking of people, I do have some people that help me with this show every day, which I neglect to thank on a regular basis. But we have moderators. We call them the Mod Squad. And one of the things that happened this week was when Charlie Kirk was shot, even before we knew it was fatal. When Charlie Kirk was shot, we wrapped up the show. And our moderators, by the way, they don't get paid. They're all volunteers. They love this country. They love what we do here. They love this show just as much as you do. And they volunteered now for over a year, for like a year and a half. They just show up and they help. And they keep the trolls at bay. And they make sure that you know and if I mention a link, they post it up there. And these ladies, all of them, are truly amazing. What happened on Wednesday was, I got done with the show. I was going to edit the podcast. All of a sudden, boom, breaking news, Charlie Kirk shot. I run on X. I see that it's bad. I'm like, I got to go live again. I fired up. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't send a message. I didn't say I'm going live again. I didn't do anything. I was just panic mode. I thought this is breaking news. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just jump on and cover it together. And I fired up the live stream all by myself, started broadcasting, didn't even think about the trolls, didn't even think that we would need moderation. And all of a sudden there were the moderators. They just were like, they dropped everything just like the rest of us and boom, they were right there and they were helping out. And so I wanted Dee, who's our crucial to every aspect of the show and helps us out so much. And Brandy and Julie, who has been, they've all been supporters since back when we were on the radio. And now that we're independent, like I said, we couldn't do any of this without any of them. So thank you to the mods. And they put up with a lot of crazy stuff. Sometimes I go back and I read the comments and I'm like, whoa, that's just nuts. But they're crucial to our mission, and we really do appreciate all of them. So if you get a chance, thank a mod, hug a mod today. But remotely, like hug a mod. Don't touch anybody. Listen, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to this program. Make sure you subscribe to the show because look, it's no longer a Monday through Friday thing. It's a Monday through Friday, sometimes twice a day, sometimes on Saturday, maybe twice on Sunday. There's going to be more content. There's going to be more information. There's going to be news breaking all the time. And I'm going to bring it to you. I'm going to bring it to you whenever I possibly can. I'm going to jump on. The moderators will hopefully jump on. But we need you to understand that we're here for you. And the only way we can be here for you is if you tell YouTube, notify me when Mark K goes live. The only way we can be here for you is if you notify Facebook and say, I want to subscribe to this channel. If you tell those podcast platforms, I want Mark K Saves the Republic every single time you go live, then we'll be there for you. But if you don't, then they're not going to know. So make sure you subscribe and set those notifications because there's a lot more enemies out there than we've ever had before, and they're crazier than ever before. And we are going to have to fight harder than ever before, but we will. We're going to stick together. We're going to stay positive. We're going to stay informed. We're going to stay loud. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep broadcasting. We're going to keep spreading the message that God is great, that Jesus is our King and our Lord and our Savior. We're going to continue to spread the message that the Constitution is the United States of America and should be respected, and no one will ever get rid of it, no matter how much Tim Kaine and the rest of those lunatics on the left want to, and that we are bigger and we are greater and we are stronger and we are smarter and we are quicker and we are more dedicated to the cause of liberty than anyone on the left. And together we will continue to grow and we will continue to fight fight, fight. And we will save the Republic. Thank you all so much. What a great Cha-Ching Chat Friday. What a crazy week. Try to take some time this weekend to enjoy yourselves, to unwind, to spend time with your family, do something you love.